It's time for the Sports Blitz, the only live-streamed local sports show in Arkansas, with all the latest on the sports stories that matter to you.
Welcome in to the Sports Blitz on a Friday. It's day number 2 of the best 2 days in sports, the best 2 days of all the year. Maddie's got a little something for us to just ring in the greatness of this time of year. I don't know. Are we listening to The Lion King? Oh, here we go. Is it not? It's a little.
I told you this was gonna be some weird rendition. I knew it.
A little jazzy for my taste, but it is the most wonderful time of the year. NCAA tournament time is upon us, and after one day, this is it. After day 1 of the NCAA tournament, let it be known, I'm number 1 in the Sports Blitz bracket pool. Unofficial bracket pool in the office.
So you're beating 2 people.
Yeah, 2 people by 1 game, and that won't last very long. But I have to take my lumps while I get my lumps in on you guys while I can, because for some reason my ESPN bracket, I just filled it out, and I didn't go back and fix it like this one. I had one bracket this year. It's the same bracket everywhere. Didn't go back and fix my ESPN bracket. I got a couple games that I've got on my regular bracket different and right. And on my ESPN bracket, I'm in like the 18th percentile.
The bracket in which you picked Colorado.
The bracket I had Colorado in.
The Colorado bracket.
Yeah, well, it's the bracket. That's the bracket that I don't know if you guys are like me when you fill out your first bracket. Normally, I fill out 100 different ones, and this year I just didn't have time, and I didn't feel strongly enough to pick a different champ or different Final Fours or anything like that. But I'll just go through and first thought.
Right.
For some reason, I'm an idiot, and I picked Colorado on that one. I didn't go back and fix it.
You know what you do, though, because look, that's a common problem is, all these different sites are giving away prizes, so you want to sign up on all these different sites and be like 7, 8 of them. So what I do is I create tabs for all of them. So I got, I'm on Google Chrome. I got my tabs are all lined up. So I make a change, just click my tabs and make the changes ... Because you're right. It can be like you change something somewhere and you forget on another one, and you got to keep up with all the different prizes. So that's a good point.
So today's CrossFit Russellville poll question, I should say questions. There are a couple of them. It's a 2-parter today. Sometimes we struggle to find a question, and sometimes we have to. Today, what memorable moments did you take from yesterday's NCAA tournament basketball games? And then if you had to pick one team today that has to win for your bracket. Now, I'm not saying you're national champion, but we'll explain a little bit more what we're talking about when we say a team that we really need to win for our bracket today. Who would it be and why? Weldon, there were a couple upsets, but it's weird because this year, I had some complaints about some seeds. I wasn't overly surprised by anything that happened yesterday.
Yeah, I agree with you 100%. You had some seeding upsets, no question about it. Harvard over Cincinnati, North Dakota State over Oklahoma, Ohio State losing to Dayton, the one that just snatched people's billion right off the bat. Hey, you like how people just lost their billion the first game of the whole tournament? The people lost it with Dayton.
I didn't.
And some people did pick Dayton, and to those people, they lasted a little bit longer, but ultimately most people lost. But I think the point is, you look at the 12-5 upsets that we saw yesterday. I mean, people talked Harvard to death. People were like, watch Harvard, and Harvard won. Big deal. Congratulations. Then North Dakota State. Look, Oklahoma can't play defense. North Dakota State, not much different. Did that really make anybody hit the floor when they lost? No. But we did see some dramatic moments, in my opinion. You look at Manhattan, what they almost did to Louisville, and you alluded to before the show, a lot of people were asleep. I mean, I was dozed off. I watched a little bit of it, and I figured, Louisville will take care of business. And I dozed off. I get an alert on my phone, says upset watch. I wake up and I turn on. I'm like, ugh. I turn on the TV.
You look like?
Yeah, that's what I was looking like too. And Luke Hancock, he hit some shots. We know the tournament MVP from last year, and he pulled them through. But the game for me that was the most entertaining had to be, for all the wrong reasons, St. Louis and NC State, because Mark Godfrey, he pulled a Mark Godfrey.
Well, he did.
We've seen him for many years in the SEC while at Alabama. They had a 16-point lead, and St. Louis, the offensively I don't want to say inept, but they struggled to score. They came back. And I told you, the thing that got me, NC State missed free throws. That was a huge deal. They would have locked it up with just one or two. But the fact that St. Louis's press is what worked against people. Now, I'm going to say it because I said it before the show. I'm going to say it now. If you really want to understand the magnitude of getting beat by St. Louis's press, picture your defense getting lit up for 400 yards passing by Houston Nutt's offense. That's the equivalent of St. Louis being able to effectively press against you. Bizarre, bizarre, bizarre.
What's crazy to me is seeing how, just being absolutely it's amazing to me how desperation can affect the game on both sides. St. Louis was desperate. They're down 14 to 16 points, and they have to scrap and claw and press and do things that are outside their comfort zone. NC State, on the flip side, and St. Louis worked it out, and they ended up winning the game, but NC State, on the flip side, missing all those free throws. I feel bad because, I say I feel bad. I just tweeted earlier about how I don't feel bad for them at all because they missed all those free throws. But, Mark Gottfried, he's getting a little bit of a bad rap because his boys can't shoot free throws. But at the same time, you never play not to lose. If you ever play not to lose, you're just asking to lose. That's why everybody in Arkansas was so mad about Houston Nutt. I remember being at a Vanderbilt game several years ago. I know this is off the topic, but he just allowed Jay Cutler to beat him because he was playing not to lose the whole night. And that's just so frustrating. And that's kind of what happened to NC State last night. And I picked that game right, but watching that game, it became very apparent to me that NC State was the better team in that game, and St. Louis escaped with a win.
They really did. I tell you, another one that got to me was because it was one where I went against the grain, and I really could have used it. It was just a 1-point game. I didn't have them going for it, but Arizona State. Texas was physically the better team. They dominated the majority of that game, but Arizona State finally flexed their offensive muscles the way I thought they would. Give Texas credit, though. They get a last-second putback to win the game. High-scoring game. That game got up in the mid to high 80s in regulation. A fun game to watch. But in the end, Arizona State got edged out. That one bothered me a little bit in my bracket because I know the majority of the people had Texas, and that would have been a great opportunity to make up ground. But, there's always today.
Yeah, and there's going to be some big ones today. I've got Stephen F. Austin as a 5 as a 12 over the 5 VCU.
I hate that one now.
Not feeling as confident in that one now that Harvard has beaten Cincinnati, and you see that these things. And North Dakota State beat Oklahoma, and that was another good game. A lot of people talked about seeing that one coming. One thing that always makes me happy about seeing the underdog win is that when it's a team like North Dakota State who throughout the year was the best shooting team in the country as far as percentage goes, and then they come out and they're just letting it rip, and they're hitting shots, big shots here and there. It's fun for me to see teams that I think they had to have been underseeded, 25-6, best shooting team in the country, and they're at 12. That's kind of rough that they were so low seeded, and they came out and they did what they do, and they won that game. But like you said, three of the I guess it's, let me see, three 12-5s have happened already, and all 3 12s should have won.
Yeah.
So it doesn't make you so confident for Stephen F.
Absolutely. I'm looking at VCU now. I know Shaka Smart, if he didn't already have his team's attention, he's got it now. Now, Stephen F. Austin, I didn't just pick him just for the heck of it. I mean, they're a good team. They hadn't lost
since November.
Yeah, November. They are one of the more efficient teams on offense and defense, and that's really what I look at because, you can look at points per game, but points per game doesn't tell you about efficiency. If you play up-tempo, you have multiple possessions, you're going to score more points, obviously, but what do you do with the possessions you do have, whether it be a lot of possessions or a few possessions? I'll tell you this right now. Arkansas is one of the top 10 scoring point per game teams in the country on offense. That should put points per game to rest as far as a reliable stat. But you look at offensive efficiency and defensive efficiency, Stephen F. Austin, one of the better teams in the country. I still like their chances, but it'll be tough today.
And, a couple things that jumped out to me from the first day, Florida wins by 12. That was kind of scary for a lot of folks. They were close in the game for most of the time. They're at Albany with those horrible-looking uniforms. The 1995 Arkansas Apex uniforms, just horrible. And then, a couple other things that jumped out. I'm trying to remember here. Louisville being so close against Manhattan, that one was a little bit worrisome. I had Connecticut beating St. Joe's, but that was a great game. UConn almost won that one in regulation with the Valpo play. Catch it in midair, throw it across, and hit the three at the buzzer. That would have been pretty cool. And then Adrian Payne for Michigan State, 41 points in the first round. And in Michigan State, not necessarily known for offensive explosions, scores 91 points in the game,
right.
93 points against Delaware, 93-78 win. There were a couple of really good performances yesterday.
There were, and that Delaware team is not a joke either. So I know people want to look at Michigan State not putting them away early and dominating them by 20 or 30 points, but understand that was a game where some people would smell an upset, or at least Delaware being right in that game. Delaware, I mean, you got to understand this. Some people think that all seeds 13 through 16 are created equally. Like, once you get your at-largest 1 through 12, they just kind of pick out of a hat for 13 through 16. Not the case. They go through with a fine-tooth comb seeds 1 through 12, and they do the same thing when they're ranking seeds 13 through 16. So understand, Delaware wasn't a 14, 15, or 6. Well, they were 14. They weren't like a 15 or 16 seed caliber team. They were up there for a reason against the number 4 seed because they're a pretty good team. So I think that it wasn't a surprise that they got it done. And good games today, Mark. I mean, you got Kentucky and Kansas State. I know some people have Kentucky in the Sweet 16 against Wichita State. I am one of those people, but they need to get it done against Kansas State. That won't be a joke. And then Wichita State against Cal Poly. I expect the Wheat Shockers to get the job done, but we know Cal Poly's kind of riding this hot wave, so we'll see if they can hang in there.
Yeah, I saw a fun question the other day we talked about before the show. If you put – now – Cal Poly was 13-19, and they won the play-in game, so now they're 14-19. The question was, I don't even know who I saw asked it, so I could give proper attribution, but I think it was Lost Letterman on Twitter. They said, if you put LeBron James on Cal Poly, would they win it all? I thought, man, that's a cool question, because he's going to get 50 every night, but that team is 13-19, and it's not by accident. So could they possibly win the championship if they got LeBron James on their team? I thought that was pretty sweet. But either way, like you said, there's some big games today, some separators for us in our little pool. Maddie's got teams like George Washington beating Memphis, and both of us, I think, have Memphis. And then he's got Stanford beating New Mexico, and both of us have New Mexico. I almost picked New Mexico over Kansas because Joel Embiid going to be out the first 2 weeks or first 2 games at least. I've got a sneaking suspicion that he's not going to play in the tournament at all.
Yeah, I think so too. Just as a young player, preserving his health, playing it cautiously. That's an interesting part of the bracket, Mark, because I know some people are high on Stanford because Stanford's got some guys that can shoot the ball, particularly big guys. Look at Alex Kirk, the big 7-footer for New Mexico, having to pull him out away from the basket. So I like New Mexico in that game, and if they do get to Kansas, I give them a good chance. Just so much going on in this tournament. You got Duke and Mercer. I've said already, watch out for Mercer. Mercer's a good team, but Duke's defense concerns me. I got Duke losing to Michigan in the Elite Eight or the Sweet 16, and not because I believe in Michigan so much more. It's just I'm more confident that Michigan will get there because I could see Duke getting knocked off against a Mercer. Or I think they'll beat Tennessee, but Tennessee's a big physical team. You talk about some problems along the way for Duke, so I'm kind of hedging my bets there in my bracket. But the game, Mark, I guess I'm getting into our poll question a little bit. The game that I really need is I need Baylor over Nebraska.
Me too.
Because I know Nebraska's capable. They've got some really, really good talent on that team. They got some guys that can score, but they're a little bit inconsistent. But if they get on the right streak, they can beat Baylor. And I got Baylor upsetting Creighton to get to the Sweet 16, so that really hurt me. If you lock that one up for me today, I'd rest easy.
Yep, and that's sort of what I was going to say too. My bracket a lot of times is real chalky, which means that I've got the higher-rated teams winning, the higher-seeded teams. And when you go and take Baylor to win not only the first-round game, the 6-11 against Nebraska, but the 6-3 against Creighton in the second round, which that's taking Creighton to beat Louisiana Lafayette also. That, to me, is something that could set us apart. Weldon and I both have that same pick from some of the people who picked Creighton to go a little while longer. So it's something that it would be a bad deal if they lost. Now, if one of the favorites, if Arizona lost, Obviously, that's a 1 seed losing. That's going to hurt everybody because nobody expected that. If let's see, one that's not so crazy like Tennessee against UMass. If you pick Tennessee to beat UMass, a lot of people didn't pick Tennessee to beat Duke in the second round, so it wouldn't hurt you that much. So that's where we came from with that question today, and that's why we picked Baylor, because that's a 2-game. Like I said on Wednesday, I don't like to make 2-game mistakes. I don't like to make games. Mistakes that'll cost me for a couple different games. And I hate seeing, it's like when at the beginning of the Wisconsin American game, Wisconsin's down 6 or 8 points early, and I'm thinking, dear Lord, I've got Wisconsin in my Elite Eight.
Yeah.
This is not good. One of my kids in church had Ohio State in his Final Four. So, your bracket's done right there.
And the thing about that, Mark, that logic, it also it works in the exact reverse, because you can actually cheer against your bracket in some instances. Because for me, for instance, if Michigan State were to get knocked off, sure, would it hurt because I have them in the Final Four? Yes. But most people have them in the title game or winning it all. So I could still make a little money on it, even if Michigan State lost, which is one of my Final Four teams. So, it's really about where you have somebody in relation to where everybody else does. Like if Creighton lost to Louisiana Lafayette today, would it bother me? Sure, but most people have Creighton further than me, so ultimately I'd be making money on that deal.
Yeah, we've got, with the Final Fours that we've got, I've got Florida, Michigan State, Arizona, and Louisville. Florida playing Louisville in the final and Florida winning it.
Me too.
There are a lot of people in the world who have that, a whole lot of people. So if I'm ever going to make any hay, it's going to be with some of these picks like Baylor and really not much else. Believing in a team like Kansas to get all the way to the Elite Eight, even though, like I said, I don't think Joel Embiid is going to be able to play. Believing in a Michigan to get to the Elite Eight, it's not too big a deal. I've got Iowa State beating Villanova. I don't think that's a huge upset if that happens. So there are going to be a lot of people who have the same bracket as me come down to the end, and the only separation is going to be a tiebreaker at the end possibly, but some of these games that you pick early on. So that's bracket picking 101 right there as far as being in a pool. I'll never help you win the billion, I promise you that, because I'll miss games here and there, but to be able to win a pool, you have to be consistent and get a bunch of the games right. 13 out of 16, I guess 12 out of 16. We're going to do pretty well today, I assume.
Yeah.
We've got pretty similar
brackets.
brackets.
I'm getting hot today.
Maddie's about to go to the trash can here today, so we're a little bit more NCAA talk. We'll hit the wire topics right after this break.
It's the most wonderful time of the year.
Hi folks, Richard Roberts with Cogswell Motors in Russellville. We've been in business since 1949. A dealership doesn't stay in business that long under the same ownership unless you're doing something right, and that's taking care of customers. We have the largest selection of new Ford, Lincoln, Mazda, and pre-owned vehicles in the River Valley. So if you want the most for your trade, the best interest rate on financing, and the best price on a new or pre-owned automobile, come to Russellville and see us. We're at 1900 East Main, or visit us on the web at cogswellmotors.com.
If you didn't count on KARK4 today this morning,
here's what you missed.
Updated news.
Police continue searching for suspects after a home intrusion overnight.
Developing stories.
There's another piece of presidential history turning up here in Arkansas.
And weather and traffic on the force.
Friday night, Saturday morning will bring us our next chance of rain.
Every 10 minutes.
Around the clock.
Making your day easier.
So rise and shine and count on.
Count on.
Count on. KARK4 today.
RiverValleyLeader.com is the #1 local source for instant news in the River Valley, offering HD video and live streaming along with top-notch coverage of all the news and events around the area. The River Valley Leader is the only place to go for all the information you need. Check out the newest local business featured on the site, as well as police news and coverage from important meetings, along with the personal stories, all at one convenient click. Check out RiverValleyLeader.com.
Today, there are more than 20 brands of cars being sold in America. So to be noticed, Ford and Cogswell Motors have to go further than anyone thought we could. How does Ford stand out above the crowd? not just with plug-in vehicles like the new 2013 Ford Fusion Energy that gets a projected 100 miles per gallon equivalent, but also with a line of gas vehicles equipped with the innovative EcoBoost engines combining power and efficiency, plus a full measure of technologically advanced features. We invite you to stop into Cogswell Motors today. We go further than anyone thought we could, so that you can go further too.
Coming across the wire at this hour, looks like the Houston Texans are going to trade Matt Schaub to the Oakland Raiders. So,
Good deal.
Super Bowl championship coming for D-Mac and the Raiders. It's a good thing he signed that one-year deal because he's going to win it all this year.
That's right. But you know what? I like this deal for both teams because Houston mentally wrecked. Everything was wrecked with that whole situation. So he needed to get out. And Oakland, I mean, Lord have mercy. You can't get much worse. You had Matt McGloin. You're not really winning a Super Bowl. You just want some decent, stable play. I think he can at least be that for him. I think it's a good move for both teams. It's not an earth-changing move, but I like it.
Got a couple other things here on the wire. Just saw this and said, what? Things that make you go, looks like Jim Calhoun, according to Jeff Goodman from ESPN, Jim Calhoun interested in the Boston College job, which to me
Makes
is
sense.
a little bit odd.
Really?
I thought he was done. I figured he'd just be, okay, I'm old
know
and
how it
I'm
is.
done. But there was a lot of talk yesterday, and I guess it was Digger Phelps this morning on ESPN who was saying Tommy Amaker needs a job offer from Boston College today.
I was about to talk about Tommy Amaker, but as far as Calhoun, though, it does seem like he was, older, retired, just staying away. But that itch will get you. He's a Boston area guy through and through. But as Tommy Amaker, I was about to say this. Tommy, you know what you need to do? You need to stay at Harvard. Why? Because, look, you were at Michigan, didn't quite work out. Don't always jump at the first big job that comes along. You got a good thing going. I know you're making good money. You're not making elite money. I get that. But don't take some mediocre to below average power conference job, get fired in 3 years, and lower your stock. He put so much work into building his stock back up after what happened at Michigan. Don't throw it away, Tommy. Don't throw it away.
It seems like some of these guys, to be a high-class Division I or even professional basketball, football coach, you have to have an intense belief in yourself. You have to be almost to the verge of cocky. A lot of them are. But some of them take that belief in themselves a little far, and they're just like, I can do it. No matter what it is, where it is, I can do it, and they're going to pay me to do it, so I'm just going to go over there and I'm going to rock it. And it doesn't always work out that way. It may turn out that Tommy Amaker gets that job, takes it, and goes crazy with it, just like Jim Calhoun. You can't, like you said, that itch. Sometimes you can't stop it. Sometimes you can't turn it off. And, you coach till the day you're ready to die like Bear Bryant.
Yeah.
So, who knows how it'll turn out, but Tommy Amaker has done a good job with Harvard.
But the thing about it, Mark, like I understand, that mentality of thinking you're the best, you can do the job. If you're like my age, see, I think I could look. If I took any job right now, I feel like I can do it. You give me any football job, anything in the sport, I can do it. But you know what? I'm 25. I'm full of myself. I love me some me right now. There's not really a whole lot I don't think I can do. But you know what? I haven't grinded at Michigan and Harvard and in these places and gotten fired and have a family and all this stuff where I just need to worry about those things at an older age. Like, I'm in my young, ambitious stage, and I just feel like when you get to be in your 40s and 50s, there's more of a tendency to just like where you're at, make your money, and go from there. But, if he takes a BC job, more power to him. I wish him the best, but I think he's got a good thing going at Harvard.
Breaking news across the NCAA tournament wire right now. The Duke Blue Devils lead Mercer 9-7, 14:51 left in the first half of that one. You mentioned Mercer and that you thought that would be a pretty good game.
Yeah, I think that'll be a good one.
Well, NCAA tournament, man, there's going to be 11:40 Baylor and Nebraska. That's the one we're looking at. That'll tip off, so it won't get too far in between now and the time we get off the air. But there are some big games today. I'm looking forward to seeing how those go. Jason just said I can't call him, but I'm listening. Jason Kilburn, his question: where would Arkansas be if Altman would have stayed? I don't know if you guys watch Dana Altman that's at Oregon now. He was at Creighton, and he was an Arkansas coach for less than 24 hours. There's a lot of talk from him about, or a lot of talk from people about how he was the shortest tenured coach in Arkansas history. And I don't know if you listen to statewide radio, but Bo Mattingly, he has these great moments in Arkansas Razorback history with Dana Altman, and it's just like, I don't know if you guys would consider me a very excitable guy. I'm kind of a boring guy. I think he'd be gone by now. I'm just saying.
Yeah, I mean, it would have been interesting. You have to understand, like, the cultural fit. I don't think you can necessarily equate what Oregon's done as far as their success, and that would have been in Arkansas. I mean, you could say Arkansas would have been a little bit better offensively because Dana's been a very good offensive coach at all of his stops, but it's a different dynamic, different part of the country, different conference. You just really don't know. But, it just never seemed like a great fit at the time. I think he realized that very shortly after he took the job. He realized that. And so it gets worked out for him. He's had success at Oregon, and Mike Anderson, hopefully at Arkansas, will do the same thing. By the way, the Hogs at 10 o'clock Monday. How about that?
Yeah, I'm going to get to watch about the first 5 minutes of that game before I go to bed. I'm not playing this stay up till midnight stuff, and especially when it's in a road game. And I see a lot of folks that are expecting Arkansas to win that game, but on the road, 10 o'clock at night, no, thank you. I'm going to be sleeping through the Arkansas game. Yeah. I'll record it and I'll watch it, but I'm just not feeling the 10 o'clock start.
I got a feeling what's going to happen is it'll start, and there'll probably be some game in front of it that runs late. So it'll
Go
probably be
triple
like
overtime.
Yeah, so it'll probably like 10-15, 10-20. What I think will happen is I'll start watching, and I think we'll be throwing the ball away, and we'll get down by 10, and I'll be in bed before 11. I think that's probably how it's going to go down.
Are you saying Arkansas is going to lose big?
I feel like Arkansas is going to struggle. I feel like they're going to struggle.
At Cal. There's your key. Playing at California, 10 o'clock, which would be 8 o'clock there, but their bodies are still going to be saying it's 10 o'clock whenever they're starting this game. Of course, that may help them. I don't know. They may be night owls that are up playing video games and doing Lord knows what up there on campus at 10 o'clock.
I tell you what, I think it'll help Ricky Scott. With Ricky Scott, it seems like he's out of control all the time. Maybe he'll wear down a little bit by 10 o'clock, and he may not run over people or throw the ball out of bounds. That might help.
That's funny. All right. A couple other things across the wire. We got a lot of NCAA tournament talk we could do, but we'll look at NFL stuff real quickly. It looks like Blake Bortles is getting all the number one player in the mock draft love right now. Yeah. But Jared Allen, there was a lot of talk that he was going to sign his deal, a deal with Seattle when he was there, and he apparently is leaving Seattle without a deal. He has not decided where he's going to play. I was kind of worried when I saw that Jared Allen was looking at Seattle. I'm like, my gosh, man, the rich get richer. That's just enough. I've had enough of the Seattle Seahawks, but now he's mulling a decision where he'll go. He may still end up there, but Dallas has got an offer on the table, or at least he visited with them, and they've got other folks who are interested in Jared Allen's services. I don't know how much he's got left in the tank, but he's been an exciting player for a long time.
He's still a baller. He's balling as if he hadn't lost anything, and I think that's the key. He's been one of the best defensive linemen we've seen in our generation for a number of years. So now it really comes down to the point do you want to catch on with a good thing and win a ring, which you have not won, or do you still want to be the guy, a big-time player for a team that's not quite as good? Because if he goes to Seattle, I think I don't know if they made it clear, but they've sort of hinted to him that he wouldn't be like a full-time three-down player. He would be a little more of a situational player. Personally, I think he's still better than that. I still think he is a full-time three-down run-stopping and pass-rushing defensive lineman. Maybe not for a long time, but at least another year or two. So does he want to go to a place like Dallas where he's going to play a lot and he could maybe help an 8-8 team be a 9-7 team? But other than that, I just don't know where his priorities are. I think that's the difference.
Well, speaking of betting on yourself, players like him, they would bet on themselves, I think. And I don't know that he will he'll choose to go to Seattle over Dallas. But if a team's telling me, and I'm Jared Allen, I think I'm 32 years old, I think I'm still great, that I'm going to be playing situationally, I'm going to be pass rushing or whatever, I'm going to go in there and bust heads, or at least, that's my mindset. I'm going to go in there and bust heads, and I'm going to make you change your mind. You're going to leave me on the field all 3 downs. That's what I'd do if I'm Jared Allen, but I'm hoping he goes to Dallas and can help take up the slack. Of course, DeMarcus Ware wasn't playing too much last year, so wasn't a whole lot of slack left to pick up. But they've replaced the whole defensive line.
Henry Melton, yeah.
Dallas got a lot of work on their hands. Duke Mercer tied at 9 now, 13 minutes left in the first half. And let me see, there was something else that I was just looking at that I forgot where I was. Well, Obama picked UConn to win the 9th national title in women's basketball. Crazy pick from him to go outside the box and pick UConn. He's probably like us, though, and has watched you watched the LSU women's games, but don't know about any other women's basketball games. I had some paint at the house, and I watched it dry this weekend rather than watch NCAA.
You know what? I do watch LSU women's basketball. I watch UConn basketball, an assistant coach. I think she's a good coach. I think she does a good job getting the players organized and where they need to be. Yeah, the president didn't go too far out on a limb. I saw him with Rebecca Lowe. By the way, Rebecca was looking lovely. I have to give her credit. She was one of the first women's basketball players I ever watched. Like her, Lisa Leslie in those 90s. Back before they even had a WNBA. You'd see them at the Olympics every few years. Be like, who are these women? Where are they doing the rest of the time? And then they finally had the WNBA.
I'll keep my mouth shut so I don't get in trouble.
Well, I don't know what you're talking about, Mark. I'm trying to talk about basketball here. But, I told you I did fill out a women's bracket because there was a prize on the line. I think ESPN is giving something away. If there's something on the line, you might as well just click a few buttons and pick some teams. And I did get a little bit eccentric. I picked some 5 seeds over some 4 seeds in my women's bracket. So I went out there a little bit. I think I'll win the challenge.
If you've ever watched women's college basketball, it's pretty much a guarantee that the higher seed is going to win. Pretty much, and that's why he's joking about the 5 over the 4. It's pretty much every year the haves and the have-nots. There's the UConn's, Duke, Notre Dame, Stanford, Tennessee. Yeah. Those are the teams, and that's it. Texas A&M will squeak in every once in a while. Rutgers a couple years back squeaked in. Listen to me, spouting off 6 or 7 women's basketball teams.
Are you the expert on this?
It's pretty much all there is in women's basketball. It's all centered around those teams, really, UConn and Tennessee for a decade plus.
Yeah.
So, when he says picking a 5 over a 4, it's not really that much of a joke.
Yeah, and Arkansas they're trying to get in that mix too. We'll see what is there any news on that?
Not at all.
We have a coaching search in this state. We are normally all over it. We're usually throwing names around. I'm not hearing anything on this women's basketball search, and
That's
quite
a shame,
frankly, I'm disappointed.
Sounds to me like Jeff Long is going away from the local names. He's going away from guys like Joe Foley at Euler, and he wants to go outside the state. Mike D'Antoni, he'd be a good women's basketball coach. D, just lots of offense there. I don't know if you saw the Dayton Daily News. Nice troll job, nice poke at Ohio State University. They've got "the" in this huge, bold font, biggest font I've ever seen on a newspaper. University of Dayton. The University of Dayton. Because Ohio State's scared of playing Dayton. Get you some of that and end the 27-year career of Aaron Kraft in the meantime. So we've got a little bit more NCAA tournament, some wire topics, some Arkansas Razorbacks, and then local sports on the Sports Blitz right after this break.
Hi folks, Richard Roberts with Cogswell Motors in Russellville. We've been in business since 1949. A dealership doesn't stay in business that long under the same ownership unless you're doing something right, and that's taking care of customers. We have the largest selection of new Ford, Lincoln, Mazda, and pre-owned vehicles in the River Valley. So if you want the most for your trade, the best interest rate on financing, and the best price on a new or pre-owned automobile, come to Russellville and see us. We're at 1900 East Main, or visit us on the web at cogswellmotors.com.
If you didn't count on KARK4 today this morning,
here's what you missed.
Updated news.
Police continue searching for suspects after a home intrusion overnight.
Developing stories.
There's another piece of presidential history turning up here in Arkansas.
And weather and traffic on the force.
Friday night, Saturday morning will bring us our next chance of rain.
Every 10 minutes.
Around the clock.
Making your day easier.
So rise and shine and count on.
Count on.
KRK4 today.
RiverValleyLeader.com is the #1 local source for instant news in the River Valley. offering HD video and live streaming along with top-notch coverage of all the news and events around the area. The River Valley Leader is the only place to go for all the information you need. Check out the newest local business featured on the site, as well as police news and coverage from important meetings, along with the personal stories, all at one convenient click. Check out rivervalleyleader.com.
Today, there are more than 20 brands of cars being sold in America. So to be noticed, Ford and Cogswell Motors have to go further than anyone thought we could. How does Ford stand out above the crowd? Not just with plug-in vehicles like the new 2013 Ford Fusion Energy that gets a projected 100 miles per gallon equivalent, but also with a line of gas vehicles equipped with the innovative EcoBoost engines combining power and efficiency, plus a full measure of technologically advanced features. We invite you to stop into Cogswell Motors today. We go further than anyone thought we could, so that you can go further too.
Got some NCAA tournament talk. The Mercer, what's Mercer's mascot?
Well, I'm looking at their logo. It's some form of
some
a bear.
sort of bear, a grizzly bear.
Yeah, like how many bear names are out there?
Mercer and Duke, 17 all, with about 10 minutes left in the half. What in the world, Mercer? Come on, somebody tell us what Mercer's. Mercer Bears, just the Bears.
Yeah, you got
all of them.
Bears,
the polar bears, the
Grizzlies, Bruins. Like, how many bear-related mascots are out there?
A lot.
That should be a trivia question.
It's a lot. Mercer 17 all with Duke early on. 8 points from Cook, 4 rebounds from Jefferson. Whoa, it's all changing up here. It just went backwards. There we go. And 2 assists from Thornton to lead Duke early on. Looking at ESPN, it went back to 14 all, and I was like, what in the world's happening here? ESPN going backwards on me. Let's look real quickly at the NBA for just a moment. 2 different topics of conversation. I don't know if you saw this the other day. We talked about Phil Jackson taking the job with the New York Knicks and signing that massive $12 million a year contract. Adam Silver, new commissioner, decided he needed to have a sit-down with Jeannie Buss. She's executive with the Los Angeles Lakers, also Phil Jackson's fiance.
For 30 years.
They needed, felt like they needed to have a sit-down talk about how this was going to go. Is there going to be any collusion? Is there going to be any under-the-table, improprieties? And he felt like he needed to sit down with them. She said, I don't make any basketball decisions. She's going to empower others to do the basketball-related stuff. I thought that was interesting there.
Yeah. So if we see Melo for Kendall Marshall, we might raise an eyebrow.
Seriously, one of those trades that the trade machine on your video game would say no.
Yeah, I know what most people get frustrated. They turn trade blockage off. You're like, let me trade LeBron for Larry Hughes or somebody back in the day.
Larry Hughes, awesome.
But look, this Lakers situation. Jeannie came out yesterday, and she's just saying, I have ultimate authority. I empower my brother and Mitch Kupchak to run basketball, but ultimately I have final say so. And I agree with the take that I think Jeannie was taking one for the team. Her brother is under extreme scrutiny right now.
Because he's an idiot.
Yeah, well, essentially that's what it comes down to. And then everybody knows that everybody's coming down. Phil Jackson now is across the country helping another organization. Just so much pressure. I think she's like, look, I'm Jeannie Buss. I have a lot of credibility among the people. Let me take some heat off my brother here, and let me let people know that I have the ultimate decision-making power. It's tough because I know Jerry Buss's final wishes were for Jim to run the team. She certainly doesn't want to mess any of that up, especially since it's so early in the process. But the pressure is mounting, and I think Jeannie was taking a little heat off Jim. Ultimately, I don't think they'll ever pull the plug on Jim and remove him from power, but she wanted people to start looking at her instead of him. Didn't work for me. I'm still looking at Jim.
No, some good looking out by Jeannie to try to help her brother out. But her dad, Jerry Buss, Dr. Jerry Buss, one of the best owners in all of American professional sports history.
Yeah.
And if he made one bad decision, putting old Jim in charge, he's been awful.
Yeah.
And speaking of awful, the bajillionaire owner of the New York Knicks, James Dolan, another just he's just made terrible decision after terrible decision for more than a decade there as owner of the Knicks. He makes money. He's very good at making money, but he's terrible at running. It's like Michael Jordan. He's a great player. He knows how to brand himself and become a billionaire, but he just can't push the buttons the right way and make things happen on the team. Well, they get Phil Jackson in, and now the New York Knicks, it's funny the way they played the other night against the Pacers. They look like a completely different team. You know how you can tell the New York Knicks are trying to do something different? Carmelo Anthony makes a pass. That's how you know. That's how you know.
Yeah, look. The Knicks. I said this the other day. I really wasn't too moved by the Phil move, just because I didn't know how things were going to go. I didn't know how much power Phil Jackson was going to have. But James Dolan, you're right. He's made some terrible decisions. He meddles. He's not steering the organization in any direction that you can trust whatsoever. So, again, the Phil thing is no big deal. As far as the collusion, tying that back with the Lakers, I don't see any of that happening. You mentioned Jerry Buss giving us Jim Buss. I'm okay with that because he also gave us the Laker girls.
That's true.
And that's a trade-off I'll take any day.
And Showtime and Shaq and Kobe and just a bunch of good things that he gave us. So we'll have to take the good with the bad. Well, of course, I don't like them to be good. I'd rather them suck anyway. It's fine with me if they're terrible. So God rest his soul. Looks like the Knicks, I think they're going to make the playoffs. They're a couple games out right now, 4 games behind the Atlanta Hawks, who've won 5 in a row. Yeah. New York's won 7 in a row. Talent-wise, it's a disgrace that the New York Knicks, with Carmelo Anthony, the second leading scorer in the NBA, they're not in the playoffs. And think about this, guys. The Charlotte Bobcats, Michael Jordan's Charlotte Bobcats, that if you saw Sports Nation the other day, they had a jeer for Gerald Henderson. So he goes up to dunk it, and I feel bad for him because the ball slipped out of his hand and he pinned himself on the rim real hard and fell on his back.
Oh.
The Charlotte Bobcats are the 7th seed in the East.
Hey, Michael
and the
Jordan.
Knicks aren't in the playoffs.
That's just great leadership from the owner.
The Charlotte Bobcats are 33 and 36, and they're in the 7th seed. They're below 500, and they're not the last seed in the playoffs. They're not a cellar dweller. They're firmly in the playoffs. That tells you how bad the Eastern Conference is. Then if you look at the flip side, the first team under 500 is the Denver Nuggets, and they're 11. They're the 11th seed, so to speak. Phoenix is 39 and 29. They're not in the playoffs. The Minnesota Timberwolves 34 and 33. They're not in the playoffs in the Western Conference. So it's kind of unfair, the spoils of the Eastern Conference, with the West being so. It's like we talked about that day when I was in the wind tunnel. Oklahoma City. And we talked about the East Conference getting in 8 teams is kind of a sham when the West probably deserves to have 11 in this year. So anyway, that's neither here nor there. Duke going out to a 26-20 lead over Mercer right now, 7:25 left in the first half of that one. Now it's 26-20 with 7:19 left. ESPN's doing crazy stuff.
Yeah, hey, coming the mercenaries is what I'm calling them. They better call a timeout, get this thing reined back in. 6 turns to 9, turns to 12. All right, yeah. Now my ESPN, it just went back to 17-17.
It's doing that. It's doing weird crap.
Baylor and Nebraska's underway too. That game is tied. That's
2-all, 18-13 left.
Yeah, 18-13, and we got our eyes on that one because we need some bracket
separation. We definitely need that one. We need that one to work out good for us. So, shamefully so, we're speaking about all the good stuff we want to happen for us.
Hey, you know what? It's our show, so it's about us.
That's definitely right.
That's
and if you were listening to us when we picked the other day and you picked your bracket like us, you're not doing too terribly bad. But you've probably got Baylor winning today. So, couple things real quickly before we hit the break. I've got to leave at 11:45. I'm going to meet with the Help Network and their board. I'll tell you more about that after the break. But Hogville.net looking here at the SEC's or that Monday morning quarterback where Arkansas has begun spring practice. And I read Ched Carpenter, Ugly Uncle's stuff the other day from spring practice. It looks like Brett Bielema is excited with what he's seen, but I don't know if I've ever seen a coach in the history of spring football who hasn't been.
Exactly. This is almost like when you hire a new defensive coordinator. We're going to be an attacking style defense. What defensive coordinator doesn't say that?
We're just going to stay back here.
Yeah,
and
we're just going to let people throw short and just run on us, and we're not going to be aggressive at all. I mean, same type narrative, same deal. Good spring, excited. We love what we see. We'll watch the spring game. I'm sure we'll see a lot of passes. Obviously, coaches like to throw it around for recruits and fans on spring, during the spring game. So I think it'll be business as usual.
I'm just hoping that they'll, I'm hoping that they'll stay healthy, but I'm also hoping that they'll put some licks on. They'll hit some folks. They're putting the pads on. I guess yesterday was the first day of pads. Yeah. So I'm hoping that people will stay relatively healthy, but I'm just hoping. I hope it's not too much for me to ask that a Razorback team would learn how to cover and will learn how to tackle. Because if you'll do those two things, the offense, I don't think that they're going to be great, but they're not going to be awful. They're going to have a decent offensive line. Can't be, it's going to be better than it was last year. The receivers, they were terrible last year. They'll have to be a little bit better. Got good running back play. That's going to be obviously the strength of the team. So I'm not as worried about the offense, but I want to see the defense be able to freaking tackle and find the ball in the air, go pick it off, at least play with your head out of your rear end in the defensive backfield. Is that too much to ask?
I mean, you just look at a few mistakes, a few isolated mistakes really kept Arkansas out of a bowl game, or at least winning 5 games. You look at some things that broke down against Mississippi State, the huge breakdown against LSU in the season finale. And they had chances in some other games. Rutgers felt like Arkansas was a better team than Rutgers. I know Rutgers went to a bowl game. Thought Arkansas should have won that game, even with a linebacker playing quarterback. So, look, so close, but those fundamentals, Mark, like you mentioned, needs to be corrected. Rafe Peavy, not a surprise. He's still trying to learn, sort of this pro-style offense. So it's taking him some time, but we'll be patient with him.
All right, I'm heading out of here. I'll be Weldon will be here in studio on camera, but I'll be calling in here in just a moment on my way to the Help Network to talk about the Brightest Stars Banquet. We'll tell you a little bit more about that, some of the details that are going on with that, and then we will close up shop for the week right after this.
Hi folks, Richard Roberts with Cogswell Motors in Russellville. We've been in business since 1949. A dealership doesn't stay in business that long under the same ownership unless you're doing something right, and that's taking care of customers. We have the largest selection of new Ford, Lincoln, Mazda, and pre-owned vehicles in the River Valley. So if you want the most for your trade, the best interest rate on financing, and the best price on a new or pre-owned automobile, come to Russellville and see us. We're at 1900 East Main, or visit us on the web at cogswellmotors.com.
If you didn't count on KARK4 today this morning,
Here's what you missed.
Updated news.
Police continue searching for suspects after a home intrusion overnight.
Developing stories.
There's another piece of presidential history turning up here in Arkansas.
And weather and traffic on the 4s.
Friday night, Saturday morning will bring us our next chance rain.
Every 10 minutes.
Around the clock.
Making your day easier.
So rise and shine and count on.
Count on.
Count on. KRK4 today.
RiverValleyLeader.com is the #1 local source for instant news in the River Valley, offering HD video and live streaming along with top-notch coverage of all the news and events around the area. The River Valley Leader is the only place to go for all the information you need. Check out the newest local business featured on the site, as well as police news and coverage from important meetings, along with the personal stories, all at one convenient click. Check out RiverValleyLeader.com.
Today, there are more than 20 brands of cars being sold in America. So to be noticed, Ford and Cogswell Motors have to go further than anyone thought we could. How does Ford stand out above the crowd? Not just with plug-in vehicles like the new 2013 Ford Fusion Energy that gets a projected 100 miles per gallon equivalent, but also with a line of gas vehicles equipped with the innovative EcoBoost engines combining power and efficiency, plus a full measure of technologically advanced features. We invite you to stop into Cogswell Motors today. We go further than anyone thought we could, so that you can go further too.
If you didn't count on KARK4 today this morning,
Here's what you missed.
updated news,
Police continue searching for suspects after a home intrusion overnight.
developing stories,
There's another piece of presidential history turning up here in Arkansas.
and weather and traffic on the force.
Friday night, Saturday morning will bring us our next chance of rain.
Every 10 minutes.
Around the clock.
Making your day easier.
So rise and shine and count on.
Count on.
KRK4 today.
RiverValleyLeader.com is the #1 local source for instant news in the River Valley, offering HD video and live streaming along with top-notch coverage of all the news and events around the area. The River Valley Leader is the only place to go for all the information you need. Check out the newest local business featured on the site, as well as police news and coverage from important meetings, along with the personal stories, all at one convenient click. Check out RiverValleyLeader.com.
Uh-oh, they made a mistake. They left me in the studio all by myself. Well, Maddie's here. Our host, Maddie Lassiter. Welcome back into the Sports Blitz, final segment of the final day. I think you all know where I will be headed as soon as this show is over, in front of a television, to watch my Baylor Bears knock off the Nebraska Cornhuskers, hopefully. We are keeping track of the tournament today. Mark Freeman had to step out. He's got some business. You know he's a busy man, but he is joining us via the phone. Mark, how's it going cruising down the road?
It is wonderful. Life has changed so much in the last 3 minutes since I was there in the studio. It's just a bright and glorious world.
It really is. We've already put a new coat of paint on the walls. It's totally different. When you get back, you're going to be absolutely amazed. So
yeah, well, you got a beautiful person sitting there on camera zoomed in on you, man. That's just it's a good look for you.
Oh yeah, absolutely. You know what? I've always seen myself to be a star, and so when you step out, it's just letting the stars shine. You know, that's what it's all about. But enough about me, because I could go on about me all day. Let's look at our local sports segment, Mark. River Valley, things are going on. You've got baseball and softball action going on. I know Russellville was in action, and softball, they had a convincing victory, and I believe the Cyclone baseball team went down against Little Rock Parkview. So baseball and softball in full action, and soccer as well.
Yeah, there's a lot of local teams going right now in all the spring sports, and it's got my head spinning with so many different ones, and I've asked so many times on the Sports Blitz for people to email Mark at RiverValleyLeader.com or to let me know about their games. That, man, I can't even keep up with all of them now. So the coaches and teams and parents are doing a good job of helping us to do that. But I saw that Hector won a big baseball game the other day. Like you mentioned, the Lady Cyclone softball team won a couple of big games the other day. Andrea Kendrick, man, it's just not fair how good she is at what she does. Pitching, going to the University of Alabama to pitch, one of the premier teams in all of college softball. She's an advantage in and of herself. She would almost be able to win some games with nobody in the field. She's that good. But it's been a fun spring so far. It's looking like some of these teams are going to compete for state championships, which, you know, if you'll remember back a couple of years ago, we had 5 teams from this area in soccer, softball, and baseball championships. So it's a good time for spring sports here in the River Valley. It
really is, Mark. And you look at, we've already watched football season to start sort of this fall campaign, followed by basketball and volleyball and a few other sports. But, Mark, if there was just a way that we could recognize these athletes for their great accomplishments, do you know any way that we could possibly be doing that?
That's a great question that you asked there. The football players, they get the big headlines and they get the news. And, the basketball players, you hear all about them, but you just don't hear a whole lot about those soccer players and the volleyball players and the track runners and the swimmers and things. And is there a reason? Are they any less important? I don't think so. I think that there's got to be some way that we can recognize those folks, and I think River Valley Leader and Help Network, I think we figured it out. It's going to be the Brightest Stars Banquet, the very first one of its kind, coming May 29th, Russellville High School. I am on my way right now to First United Methodist Church for the Help Network meeting of the week. We're going to share with some of these potential sponsors and some of the Help Network board people about the Brightest Stars Banquet. Want to get everybody excited about it. I just saw this morning, 25 coaches already. Now, that's not even anywhere near finished, but 25 coaches already have applied and sent in their nominees, and I even got a scholarship nomination the other day for a young lady who plays tennis at Russellville High School, and I nearly lost it. It was just such a good story,
Wow.
And it's exactly what we were looking for, a way to honor these kids.
That's wonderful to hear. And that scholarship, Mark, and correct me if I'm wrong, it's for athletes who will not be going on to play at the next level, recognizing some more background, life-type stories with that particular scholarship. Is that right?
That's exactly right. It's going to be for, and this is why I think this is special and important. So many of these players get to go on and do their thing at the next level in college athletics, but some of these kids are just great teammates. They're people who exemplify, hard work and teamwork, and they're going to go on to the next level in college, and they could use some sort of financial assistance, but they're not going to get it from an athletic scholarship. And, I just think it's a great way to help somebody who's been such a great teammate for so long. And, this person, I won't name the person because I don't want to skew anything right now, but she was helping with her own team as a tennis player, and then as her season ended, get this, she went to another school who had just started tennis, and she started helping coach their team after her school season ended. So she's just an incredible student athlete. There's stories like that all over the place that need to get out there.
And that's wonderful. I mean, I think it's good to recognize those things because, look, you at home may be thinking, there's banquets, there's things in the newspaper. There's already things like this. It's going to have a totally different vibe to it. Picture an ESPYs, picture an Oscar type vibe to it. Maybe not necessarily the tuxedo dress, but in terms of something really well put together. When you walk into an event or a place, you can tell how much time and effort was put into it. I mean, it's very hard to hide if you just threw something together last minute or if you put several months worth of work into it. I think when you go and watch the Brightest Stars Banquet and you take part of it, you will understand how much work has been put into it. Mark, I want to look at some other local sports. Arkansas Tech, of course, we know they finished up in men's basketball recently with the NCAA tournament. Softball's underway now. They went down to Minnesota Duluth 9-0, but before that they got a couple of wins over Fort Hays State and Rogers State. Baseball won their most recent game as well against Arkansas Monticello. So things are getting going on the baseball front. Want to keep you posted on the NCAA tournament. Duke is up 30-25 on Mercer, 2:47 to go in the first half. Also Baylor, Mark, our Baylor Bears are up 10-3 against the Nebraska Cornhuskers. It'd be really nice for us if that score held.
Yeah, it definitely would be. And while I'm thinking about it, Arkansas Tech men's baseball, they were up to number 13 in one poll, and I think that there needs to be an official inquiry into the Minnesota Duluth athletic programs. I don't know if it's you or whatever you've done when you go up that way, but I think we need to test every one of them for steroids because they seem to dominate about everything in Division II sports.
Yeah, that's a good point. I actually spent some time on that campus. That's about an hour or so east of where I'm at in Grand Rapids, Minnesota. And, yeah, they are really good. They've got some facilities that will rival a lot of Division I AA's. Their football facility is really nice. I got to tour that and speak with their coaches. They are really solid in everything they do. It's just up there it's different because the talent doesn't get spread out as much. If you're a Division I player, you go to one of the Dakota schools, but if not, there's not a whole lot else out there for you to do. So a lot of those Division I-ish type players are funneled there. They really do have some advantages. Down south, it's really spread out. We have a lot of Division IIs down here, a lot of FCS schools, so the talent really gets spread out down here. I think that's one reason you see UMD have so much success, but it's one of those things where Arkansas Tech, we talk about the All Sports Trophy and trying to be in the mix for that. At some point Arkansas Tech won't win it, Mark, but I don't think we're ready to give it up just quite yet.
No, I think they moved up to number 2, and with the baseball and softball teams looking to play pretty well coming down the stretch, Arkansas Tech can be right there again with Harding to win the overall All Sports Trophy and the Arkansas Tech Sports Trophy, I guess you want to call it. They'll just rename it after Walt Braxton after this year, a famous Arkansas Tech grad. So.
Yeah. Look, my days at Arkansas Tech, Mark, you're a Tech grad, so we have an affinity for that. I'm scrolling on Twitter, and look, people are still making a big deal out of this as we wrap up today's show. Brent Musburger, people just have it out for him being a creeper. I think people are getting on him way too much. They're scrutinizing way too much. I am defending Brent Musburger. People quit calling him a creeper. Of course, he had he had another moment at the tournament. It's not that bad to me, Mark. I don't know if you agree, but it's not that bad.
He's just an old guy. I think he's harmless. I don't think he means anything by it. He does. I like when he starts spouting betting lines and stuff like that. It's just kind of funny when he does that.
Yeah, so as we wrap up shop today, again, we'll give you one more wrap up today before I leave you. The NCAA tournament, Duke continues to lead Mercer. It's now 30-27. Baylor still up 10-3. I am as soon as we get done with this show, which is in about a few seconds. That's a hint to our producer Maddie. As soon as this show is over here in a few seconds, Maddie's just over there like. He's just chilling out whatsoever. Oh, now the music is on. I am headed to. Well, you know what? You did put music over me when I was making my point last time. I do have an issue with that. Mark Freeman, good luck to you in your meeting. I hope you have success and you come back with good news. Appreciate you being on the line with us. Appreciate you joining us. Kick back, watch you some NCAA tournament action. That's what I'm about to do as soon as I leave here. For Maddie Laster, Mark Freeman on the phone, I'm Weldon Braxton. We will see you on Monday.